the straight up fact that Xbox Series X console sales, this is the X and S combined, are down 47% year over year in February in Europe.
This is the thing that's concerning, right? Xbox Series S and X sales continue to struggle in Europe, down 52%.
You can follow our monthly coverage in the games market, and you can see that Xbox sales are falling.
Settle down, everybody, settle down. We are here for the eulogy for Xbox. We have to admit that the console is totally dead. I know it's very sad. Hey, Sony, no clapping, Sony. I know you're happy, but not now. This is a sad time. Now, some of us here might think that Xbox isn't dead, that it could make a comeback and actually be a good console again. But let's be honest, it's never going to come back. And I think it's well and good that we can have a proper eulogy for this console. So let's go ahead and have a life and times of Xbox. Let's look at what went right and what went wrong and how we can move forward from here. I know we're all very sad, but I think we'd better start with
Part 1. The Golden Era. It's the year 2001 and Microsoft has a plan. They're going to get into the gaming business. Sure, in 1999 they tried to convince Sony to let them build the PS2 and got shot down. Then they tried to buy Nintendo in 2000 and got shot down again. But damn it, who needs veterans of the industry? This is Microsoft and they can make good stuff all by themselves.
You'll notice that this scanner build... Whoa. Moving right along.
Oh my god, how embarrassing. Where's The Rock when you need him?
The Xbox is everything The Rock is. Cutting edge, powerful, exhilarating, and like The Rock, it will be the most electrifying thing coming out this year.
Did he just say he's coming out?
Rock, that is impressive.
While the odds were against them, what they ended up releasing was actually quite a powerful console that had a fantastic slew of titles. They had Halo, and Star Wars, and Splinter Cell, and Halo, and Fable, and did we mention they had Halo? While Halo pretty much put Xbox on the map, they did have a solid lineup of games that appealed mostly to adult Western audiences. At the time, mature games developed with Western audiences in mind were rather underrepresented on gaming consoles. You got Sony over here making great JRPGs that you could play for hundreds of hours, but despite the games being insanely immersive, you still can't escape the reality of living in a broken home.
Mom, Dad, could you please stop fighting? I'm trying to see love blossom between Luna and Titus.
Then you have Nintendo going full baby mode with their catalog of games, but somehow getting the exclusive rights to Resident Evil 4 when it first came out. What the hell was that? Look, I loved the GameCube and PS2, but when you look at the best games on both consoles, you can clearly see that in general, the former features games for younger audiences, and the latter had a slew of Eastern games. This isn't to say there aren't notable exceptions. I'm looking at you, Metal Gear Solid 3, I love you so much, oh my god. And I'm not saying that these games weren't amazing, but the audience of frat bros that wanted to shoot Nazis and aliens in the face didn't really have a console home. And I hear you saying, but Pancake Sean, you could have those experiences on a PC. Well, voice inside my head, building a PC back in 2001 was a lot different than it is now. And back then, we were still pretty much in the family computer era, where computers were super expensive and most households only had one. Don't believe me? Check out this PC Mall catalog from the year 2000. For just $25.99, you could get an 18-inch portable monitor. Wow, what a deal. What do you think that technology must cost today? $5,000? $10,000? Go ahead and reveal that price, Johnny. Oh. Basically, each and every part of a PC was hugely overpriced back then, so building a PC was insanely expensive, horribly convoluted, and most consoles had a wide range of exclusives that you couldn't get on the PC. So even if you were a super cool guy who had a Hot Wheels PC loaded with 64 megs of RAM, a 6GB hard drive, and a $300 CD drive where you burned all the hits from LimeWire, you would run into other issues. Sure, you could play Halo CE PvE on the computer, but every time your fucking mother picks up the phone, you get kicked from a match. Mom, I don't care if a plane just crashed into Tower 2. I'm in the middle of a match. Oh my god, I'm sorry, that was a bit too far. I don't know where the line is on this one. I could. So early on, the Xbox succeeded because it brought games and services that were reserved for the PC market to the masses. Speaking of which, you can't talk about Xbox without discussing Xbox Live. Xbox was the only place for online play. Sure, Sony and Nintendo had the ability to go online, but their online capabilities were terrible, and the games that took advantage of it sucked. Get out your GameCube keyboard controllers and let's spend an afternoon in the most boring online game ever. Oh. With the advent of Xbox Live, suddenly millions of gamers were able to call each other racial slurs from the comfort of their own couch.
Fucking I own you, little bitch. You can't play this game, man. Get out of the tank and then let's see who wins. I'm like #1 in support, so I'll kill you.
And Microsoft had a leg up on the competition in this regard because their service was easy to use and worked well. Shit, Nintendo still can't get online games working right, and it's been 20 years. But while the Xbox initially delivered experiences that console players did not have access to, things would eventually change. During the slow march of time, they went from an innovative disruptor to an embarrassing failure that lagged behind their competition.
Now, my friends, I know we shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but unfortunately, we can't cover the entire life and times of Xbox without discussing
Part 2, the embarrassing years. While the Xbox 360 maintained market relevance and kept pace with the PlayStation 3, the first cracks in Xbox's relevancy were already beginning to show. While the Xbox 360 had some amazing exclusives like Gears of War, Fable, Forza, and of course Halo, the machine itself was a gigantic piece of shit. It had a hardware failure rate over 50%. 50%. Can you imagine buying any electronic today and flipping a coin to determine if it would break or not? My Apple Vision Pro better not break, otherwise how am I going to slowly type and look like an absolute jackass? In general, the Xbox 360 was a loud, sluggish system that was just not as sleek and great as the PS3. Although it was significantly cheaper, so it was still able to sell quite well compared to the insanely high-priced PS3.
In North America, the PlayStation 3 will be available at retail on November 17th, 2006. The 20GB PlayStation 3 will retail for $499 US.
$500 in 2006 money? That was enough to buy a Honda Civic back then. Are you serious, Sony? While Microsoft made some mistakes with the Xbox 360, there would be two significant things that happened in the gaming market which would spell doom for the company that failed to adapt. First and foremost, with the release of the Wii a year after the release of the Xbox 360, Nintendo proved that there was an insanely large market of previously untapped babies and grandmas ripe for the picking. This era of shovelware bullshit was awful, and I made a massive video covering it. So if you want to see the depths of depravity that came with this era, check that out. I mean, like, no one has really seen that video, and I think it's great. Anyway, after the Wii sold like crazy, both Sony and Microsoft instantly made cheap imitations of already successful Nintendo products that ultimately failed. Xbox's focus on the Kinect not only didn't work well, it was horribly embarrassing and uninteresting to their core audience. Basically, if average consumer man wanted a casual gaming experience, he would just play the Wii. People went to Xbox for the experiences they couldn't get on the family-friendly Wii, and instead of leaning into their mature offerings, Microsoft dragged Peter Molyneux's lying ass onto the stage to demo the only game where you can roleplay as a child predator.
You've got to put these goggles on.
Goggles?
Put them on like this.
Like that?
Claire has been thrown a pair of goggles. Notice what she did. This wasn't acted. She felt the need to reach down for those goggles.
Oh, he just said that wasn't scripted. I'm sure you're not lying, Peter Molyneux. Oh. Secondly, even if Microsoft doubled down on their mature exclusives, the fact of the matter was that the PC gaming market was opening up significantly. Building PCs was still mostly reserved for enthusiasts, but as time went on and technology was standardized, it became much easier and more cost-effective to build a high-powered gaming PC. Granted, a high-powered gaming PC back then had graphics that looked like this, but for PC gamers in 2006, it was like,
wow, Graphics are never gonna look better than this. There's like 10 trees being rendered there. 10 trees at once!
Hey, anyone remember how the PS2 was like the best-selling console ever because it was the same price as a DVD player and could play games? Like, your parents could get it to watch their copy of Air Force One, and when they were drinking and fighting, you could play Final Fantasy X. Basically, PC gaming kind of became like that. Sure, you could buy an Xbox, but for a little bit more money, you could get a system that would not only play most of the same games as the Xbox, but it would play them better, and you could use it for schoolwork, chatting up babes on AOL, and that wonderful dial-up pornography. Come on. Come on. Oh, fuck! Who picked up the phone? So you had a perfect storm of several things going on in the 2000s and early 2010s that began to spell doom for Xbox. You had them appealing to a casual audience that didn't exist for their system, and they made shitty hardware in a market where building a PC was easier than ever. And then the coup de grace was talking out of their ass about their newest console and introducing asinine restrictions to gaming that were mocked by the entire gaming public.
We've also got new information about what happens if you want to lend your friend a game.
Oh, you can't at all.
You can't lend it, but you can give it. We're not Xbox Live friends, so
yet.
we can't. You have to be Xbox Live friends for 30 days at least, and then you can give that game. So I can now give that game to Mitch.
So Kenzo would lose the rights to that game.
Oh wow, that sounds like a horrible pain in the ass no one will like. Sony, what's your response?
Thanks. Now, normally you think we'd talk about a redemption arc here, about how Xbox came back against all odds and recaptured its glory. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, and we have to end this eulogy by discussing
Part 3. The current day and the future. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. These companies have been vying for control of the gaming market for 2 decades now, and through this time we can look at the victors and the losers. Hey, here's a hint. Microsoft always loses. 6th generation. Xbox, PS2, GameCube. PS2 dominates everyone because they were smart enough to put a DVD player in their system. That's literally it. Good job, Sony, you win this one. 7th generation. Xbox 360, PS3, Wii. Everyone does pretty well, but Nintendo opens the floodgates to a casual audience and takes the win. Give that one to Nintendo. 8th generation. Xbox One, PS4, Wii U. Microsoft slips behind Sony, and Nintendo fucks everything up by naming a new console the same as their old console except for a single letter. Grandmas everywhere are confused and buy their grandkids the wrong games for Christmas. Sony, you win this one too. 9th generation. Xbox Series X/S, PS5, and Switch. Nintendo dominates, Sony trips up a little bit due to supply issues, and Microsoft utterly fails. Nintendo wins again. So we have 4 generations spanning over 2 decades. We have 2 Sony wins, 2 Nintendo wins, and while the Xbox was able to keep pace for a time, lately it has crashed and burned. The problems that plagued the Xbox with the expansion of the PC market have only gotten worse. These days, building a PC is something a child can do. PC parts are also cheaper than ever, and the explosion of indie games means you don't even need a top-of-the-line PC to enjoy some amazing titles. The niche that Microsoft carved out with the original Xbox is all but gone. You can play Halo, Final Fantasy, and with some creative means, even Nintendo games on your computer. But don't tell Nintendo, they're gonna sue you for having fun. Oh my god, is that them at the door? We gotta run now! Unless you absolutely cannot save up to buy even a moderately decent PC, there's really no reason to invest in an Xbox. So what does this mean for the future? Well, while Microsoft is promising unique new hardware, whatever that means, my guess is they're just gonna pump as much powerful tech into the new system and continue as usual. These days, it seems they've shifted focus from hardware to the highly lucrative Game Pass system, which appeals to both console and PC gamers. On top of that, Microsoft has seemed to give up on having quality exclusives, so really, I think there's only one thing left for us to do.
Now the Xbox is dead, and I truly don't see it coming back. So now, all we have left is our memories. Goodbye, old friend. I'll never forget the time my Xbox 360 broke on 2 separate occasions, and it took Microsoft 3 months to fix it every single time. Oh, you're still here. Well, hey, if you like this content, go ahead and like and comment, or subscribe if you want to see more. I have some animations here that you might really enjoy, and here's a video that's selected just for you. Wow, that one sure is hilarious. Anyways, go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more, and I should have a new video in about a month or so. Thanks guys, bye.